Everybody, welcome back to Plugin Tut. This is part 2 of my Divi series where I'm going to dive a little bit deeper to help us all understand what's going on under the hood. Coming up next. All right, everybody, welcome back to part 2 of my Divi series. I know if you're coming from part 1 of my overview video, a lot of you are just very angry, and I do apologize for maybe saying some constructive criticism things about the theme. I totally understand. A lot of people are passionate about this theme. A lot of people are passionate about which page builder that they use because you find it empowering. It's definitely a tool that helps you get the job done super fast and in terms of Divi in a nice, sort of beautiful UI fashion. Look, I do some unboxing videos on this channel where I just dive right into a product and I try to just go at it without reading documentation. Why? Because I know over the last 5 years, I've supported, maybe a few thousand WordPress customers through themes and plugins, and I know that a majority of people do not read the documentation. And if you're a Divi user and you love Divi, there's absolutely no way you can tell me that you haven't heard negative things about this before. I understand that 3.0 is a great way for them to sort of bring the tech up a notch and sort of be more compatible for the WordPress purists that are out there. But the intention of today's video is to dive a little bit deeper under the hood of Divi so that we can all understand what's going on. Again, I think there's a lot of you out there who've never used Divi before, and you might want to just understand how to use it. If you're seeing Divi 3.0 with its powerful page builder, front-end page builder anyway, you might think that everything is done in the front end when it is not. And a lot of page building themes and plugins, they don't do everything in the front end. There's going to be some options in the back end. Like here, you go to Divi, then theme options. We have our general options. Now these options are, for the most part, maybe options that are global options for the entire look and feel of your Divi website. Obviously things like logo is going to be on every single page of your Divi theme. Which is contrary to page building, where you're going and building just for that page. You're making options and styles just for that page. I'm not going to go line by line, but under the general setting, a lot of the stuff is self-explanatory. One of the things I really like that Divi does is, again, starting off with something that I like about Divi. I think their option pages are good looking, clean, concise. And I do like how they put this little helper button on nearly every option that's available. So if you don't know what fixed navigation bar means, you can click that. Little pop-up comes up like we see here. Fixed navigation bar. By default, the navigation bar stays on top of the screen at all times. We suggest to disable this option if you need to use a logo taller than the default one. So right there, it's telling you, look, if you're going to use a logo that's going to be bigger than what we have, taller than what we have, you might want to go ahead and disable that. Cool stuff. Like I like how they do all that stuff. MailChimp API key, Google API key. Again, Google Maps. If you're using Google Maps, you're definitely going to need an API key. If you're using MailChimp, you're going to need an API key. Now, here's where the things sort of this is the gray area of Divi, and I don't care how much you love Divi. I mean, you must understand that there are there are way better MailChimp plugins that are out there. For capturing email, do you spend the time and integrate your MailChimp API with the Divi theme, or do you do it with the plugin? Probably with a plugin, because the plugin is going to be more, it's going to scale more, it's going to have more options. Whereas, potentially the newsletter sign up MailChimp integration that Divi has is going to be very simple and might get the job done. These types of things I feel are better served in other areas. But again, if you're using Divi and you're all in on Divi, by all means, use the API key. Don't attack me. I think that's a fine thing to do if that's what you want to do. Other things like showing and hiding and disabling social icons, you can do all that here. How many pages you want to display, that sort of thing. You can do how many pages or posts, you can do all that. The navigation, drop downs or no drop downs, home link or no home link. You can control all of that here. Layout. This is what I like, and I do like this for a global option, is for single post layouts, single page layouts, and general settings. You can get pretty granular on those layouts. So, sometimes you don't want to show like that little comment count thing. That's fine. You can uncheck it. Sometimes you don't want to show the author because maybe it's just you on that website. So you can hide the author little display, but you can keep the date, which I think is really cool. Want to show comments on posts or hide them? You can enable or disable that here. Awesome sort of granular details that I enjoy from the options in the back end of Divi. The ad section, this is, it's sort of up in the air. I mean, are we all running like how many Divi users are building sites that are sort of magazine-ish? And are you going to have just this one input area for a banner, 468 by 60? I mean, this sort of seems like a legacy option here. I don't really see a need for ads. And again, I think ads is served better in a different plugin. So there's that. SEO, again, I think there are SEO plugins which are great for WordPress. Are going to do a heck of a job. But again, I think most of this stuff comes disabled by default. And you can still go through and get granular with this stuff if you wanted. If you didn't want to go and use the Yoast SEO plugin, I'm assuming you could use this here. I don't know if this is overriding any of the Yoast stuff. I haven't tested any of that yet. And I don't know what happens if maybe somebody enables an option here and has something in the Yoast SEO plugin. What happens at that? Is there a conflict? I don't know. I haven't gone that far. Integration. Again, this is pretty much standard stuff that a lot of themes do. So you can throw code at the beginning of a post or page or the end or the top of the site, bottom of the site, that kind of thing. Pretty straightforward there. And updates, this is probably where you head to as the first option. Or the first step that you take when you use any maybe commercial theme that has an updating process. But specifically for Divi, you come into theme options, updates, you drop in your Elegant Themes username and API key, and this is the lifeline that keeps the theme updated, which is super important. I mean, I won't cover all the reasons for keeping your theme updated in this video, but you're definitely going to want to throw that in there and go ahead and make sure that your theme's getting updated. I think there was an update that came out when, by the time I did my last video to this video, there was a bunch of different updates that came out, or at least one with a few changes. Anyway, you click on Theme Customizer, and this is going to bring you to the front end of your WordPress site. And again, I'll give you a little bit of sort of feedback on this. This is very much the customizer, almost like the default customizer type of view. Cool, thumbs up. You're going to go ahead and change all of the stuff like your body text size. You can just drag this stuff here, these little sliders, and you can see the body text is moving up and down as I adjust that. Same thing with the body line height of the text, header spacing. So tons of options in terms of playing with colors, look and feel of typography, the layout settings. You can change the total width of a website, the total height of the sections and row heights, which we'll talk about later. Enable the box layout, and you can kind of see in this, as I do that, you'll see the site adjust. So if you didn't want a full width website, then you could just enable the box layout, and that'll just keep everything constrained to the content width. So again, if I shrink this and move this around, you can kind of see that, look, I can make the entire site stretch and at my command. It's pretty powerful. Site identity, again, site title, tagline, that's all traditional stuff. So in terms of theme options, you got a whole bunch. You have a whole bunch here to go through and play with and change fonts on posts and pages. Pretty powerful stuff. Again, it's going to take, I think we've all realized this from video number one. You're going to need some sort of plan as you approach all the stuff that you want to customize. Okay, I'm not going to save any of this. I'm just going to close it and leave, and that'll drop me back in the back end. So that was Theme Customizer. We're going to look at the Module Customizer real quick. The Module Customizer, again, brings you to the front end, and a little bit hard to understand what you might be changing. So if I actually had an email, for example, an email module dropped in, which we do in the front end page builder or back end page builder, you can see this in action, and you can change every module's look and feel, for the most part, that Divi provides. So again, if we're looking at like a shop page, when we build that out later, we can go ahead and change the font sizes of the shop, the badges and stuff like that, product names, and we can adjust all of those fonts look and feel. Again, I feel like this is where there is a definite learning curve for sure, which is apparent in any builder or WordPress theme, but I feel like you'll be going to a lot of places. So if you're building your shop page and you're designing it on the front end builder, but then now you're coming over here to change the overall module designs, it can get a little out of hand. You just have to spend some time with it. Again, I understand you don't have to leave that as a comment. So that's the module builder. Again, the intention here is that we're just going to kind of roll through these options so we can all understand what's going on. This, I think, is really powerful, especially if you're a consultant and you're building somebody's website, for them, or you're the lead at your organization. You're sort of tasked with managing the website, and you want to sort of control who has access to what and what options. Great for somebody who's got, a marketing team or an editorial team, and you don't want people to have too much access to modifying the site. And look, this is awesome. Like if you wanted to not let anybody who's a blog author edit the fonts on the website, you can enable or disable that stuff here. And you can really get granular and go ahead and do all of this sort of, enabling and disabling for the roles that have access to your account, to your WordPress website. And I think that's really awesome. Very powerful here. Divi library. This is, I don't have any, I'm going to probably do a whole new episode on this stuff, but what you can do is say test template. Right now, let's just say, I'll call it a layout. It's a global layout. And you can categorize it if you want. So I'll just say something like homepage. Let's submit that. So the library is where you can go and save different layouts, different modules that you create, so that you can rapidly pull those in as you build out the rest of the site. So for example, if you built an entire product page and you wanted to use that on a new product page, you don't want to go through the headache of rebuilding it all, you can go ahead and pull that in from your Divi library when you're in the page builder, and just go ahead and go to town and start customizing your new product page, right? So that's that example. So just to set the stage, I think, on where I'm going to go with my Divi series. And again, I know you're all very vocal on this. Go ahead and leave comments. Let me know if you think it's good or not. But I want to continue to build out this sort of typical 5 to 10 page website that many folks will use Divi on to build their product site or their business site. So it'll be home, about, shop, contact, and maybe we'll do some other sort of like landing pages. Just to give folks an idea that Divi of old wasn't all about the front end page builder that we saw in my last video, but it was very much about building pages in the backend, using the Divi builder in the backend. And so what we'll see here is if I click on use the Divi builder, it takes my traditional page, my standard stock WordPress page, and I want to just get out of this just so I can show you. Here's my page. This is standard WordPress, right? And I could just come in here and start typing in all my stuff for my homepage. And then I click on use the Divi builder, and it inserts the Divi builder here. This is how Divi has worked, I don't know, I guess for years now, right? So like before, I showed you that I could pull in from the library. This is that test template I made. Or these are predefined layouts, which a lot of you were reminding me of before, that I can load in. These come from Elegant Themes, from the Divi team, and I can use that as quick starts for layouts. But anyway, the point is that this builder still exists in Divi 3.0. It hasn't gone away. I don't know if it will go away. So if you are an experienced Divi user, and sometimes the front end can take a little bit longer because, again, you will be playing with the different scrolling around, finding the different elements. Whereas here you might just be like real quick, and you might say, okay, I know I need this one, and then I can add another row here. That one will be full width. I can add a standard section. So now I'm playing with a standard section. That'll be full width. Now I'm going to insert some modules, and maybe I want a blog module there, and I'll fill out all my information on that blog module, hit save, right? So this becomes, I'd even say that this is much more for an advanced user, right? Because you already know what might be going on in the front end, whereas the new user, they might want to use the visual builder. So now if we go ahead and use the visual builder, this gives a second to load here. These are the sections and the rows that I have added. This is that blog section that blog module that I just dropped in, right? So again, these are the sections in blue, which I know a lot of you were yelling at me about in that first video. And these are the rows that I dropped in. Now, as you can see, you're still going to have to scroll down if you want to add another row. I'm not saying it's difficult, but I'm just saying that in the back end might be a little bit quicker. So this is the visual builder. And the visual builder, again, this is where I think you can finally fine tune your front end. So if you were building it in the back end, you might say something like, oh, I do want to just kind of grab this and give this section a little bit more room, that kind of thing. You could do that, right? And it's pretty powerful stuff. And I think their visual builder is great, short of some of these boatloads of elements that we run into. Now, speaking of elements, you can kind of come into each section, row, and module and say, look, I want to edit just this section. And again, I mentioned this in video number 1. I think their UI is amazing. Like, one thing I don't like about a lot of other page builders, is it loads that same customizer menu that we saw before for the theme and module editor on the left-hand side. So what that does is it starts to constrain, depending on the size of your monitor, of course, it starts to constrain the width of your website. So sometimes I do a lot of my work on my 13-inch MacBook, and I know a lot of the time, it puts it right into a tablet view, right? And you can't really break out that section for a lot of these other builders that are out there. Whereas Divi, I think the advantage that they have, actually I can do it right here. If I just click this, you can see that it drops it in the right-hand side, or left-hand side, sorry. But if you can see, as I resize my page here, the website sort of snaps into its mobile view. Now, this is 1920 resolution, so I don't have much of an issue there. But again, the point here is I do like how you can pull out the menu of Divi settings and move them around the screen. So thumbs up for that. Every section gets a little gear icon, little settings icon. And that is where you can change each individual setting for that section or row or module. And again, I know I said that there's a lot of options. For some people, that's a good thing. For other beginners, it's not so much, right? So a lot of people might just be looking for, where's the font? Where's the font for this particular row? Again, I know this is just a row settings, but you get a lot of options thrown at you. For some people, that can be overwhelming. That's all I have to say about that. Now, you can drag and drop these elements around, which is really cool. Let's just, for example's sake, drop in, I don't know, we'll just drop in something here just so we can see it. I still have that one image. Boom, boom, save. All right, so I put an image there. That's the only one I have right now. But as you can see, I can take this row, drop it right on top there, and move these elements around. And you can imagine if this is a home page, it's some pretty powerful stuff that you can do. You can duplicate the section. So if I hover over this little duplication icon, you click that, and that'll automatically drop it down before. So again, if you're building these product pages and you have these images to the left and content to the right, you can just quickly replicate these rows. It becomes a huge boon to being able to rapidly build out websites. If you wanted to change the layout, so for example, this one already has, what I'm assuming is 66% on the left and 33 on the right, 3/4, 1/4. You can change that to full row, and that does that adjust it. Very simple. If you wanted to save this to your library, so if you built out this little module like we did while we were looking at the other settings, you could take the time, build out this hero section with a great call to action. Maybe you've aligned everything exactly the way you want it. And now you could say, this is my hero image, and you could save that to your global items. You could add it to another category. You could create a new category. I'm just going to save that to my library. So again, I think that's a really nice touch, because one of the things about page builders is you spend a lot of time building these sections out, right? That's sort of the purpose. It's a builder. So you can imagine if you did things the developer way, and you were writing lines of code and you were creating HTML and CSS, you want to save those snippets so that you're not doing it over and over again all the time. No different than a page builder. You can build these little modules, which is really cool, and then save that to your library. That's a nice touch. And of course, delete. Right? You delete it. You don't want it, you can delete it. Very simple. Let's in fact take a look. So if I drop this, add a new row here, you can see this is my hero image. I just created that. Boom, drop it right back in, right? Pretty powerful stuff, pretty awesome stuff. And I think that as we move along, we'll start to build out a more robust WordPress website as we go along here. In fact, let me just go one last thing, because I know a lot of you were screaming at me in the last video about this, about Divi. I didn't realize that you could move the, I guess, master option switch all over, right? So if I want, I don't know if I can put it over there now. I can just move it from the top to the bottom. So one of the things that I had said before was, man, it's tough adding these sections because this button was getting in the way. And look, I can drag that and move that to the top. So that's a great tip for you too. And I do really like how I can switch to the mobile views and really get a hold of the design for each section on a mobile device. Really cool stuff. And again, the history, the editing history. So if I make a change, I make a bunch of changes and I'm like, oh no, what happened? I forgot something. I didn't want to do that. I can go back in my history and restore point, retroactively or whatever. I can go back and make those changes. And then I can save sort of entire layouts or export entire layouts or import entire layouts from here too. Really cool stuff. Save button on the right. Don't forget to hit save once you're done. That's also very important. That's Divi part 2. That's us exploring sort of the options, the overview. I know it's kind of fast like I did my last overview video, but again, I don't want to go nuts here. But again, you can come in the back end here. You can build your pages using the traditional Divi builder back here. I think this is something that's for some rapid development, especially if you totally know what's going on with Divi and you can kind of quickly build out these pages and then go to the visual builder and do your fine tunes and your tweaking and things like that. So I think that's really awesome. And we went through some of the options of Divi. And as we move forward here, I think what we'll do is we'll start to build out a more traditional business page using Divi. We'll see if you like it. I hope this video is a little bit better for you Divi fans out there. I know that it might have came off a little rough in the first one. That's okay, first 15 minutes. What we do here at Plugin Tut. If you did like the video, go ahead and hit like, share it with friends and family. If you have comments, which I know some of you will have, leave them below. See you next time.